Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to take a minute and welcome you to the Donut Shop podcast. I had a suggestion from somebody who watches the show and thought it was a good idea. I'm always open to suggestions about the show. And he mentioned that I never usually introduce myself or at least tell you about who I am. And with adding new fans or new viewers all the time, it might be a good idea to go over that. So my name is Justin. I've been a police officer for 20 years. I'm actually getting ready for retirement. I'm going to retire and start doing this podcasting stuff full time. During my career, I've worked on road patrol. I've been a crisis negotiator, did that for about 8 years. It was great training, learned a lot about mental health and working with people. I was a school resource officer. I worked in the elementary school and then in the high school. I did that for 6.5 years. Then I also moved into the community resource unit and public information officer unit. So I did a lot of community engagement. I ran our social media for the department. And then I also spoke with the news. Kind of leads into this, even though I was a podcaster before I was in that unit. I've been doing podcasting since about 2012. I started with a soccer podcast with some friends for a local soccer team. We had a great time. It was a little different than this, obviously, but I was on the mic and doing that kind of stuff. Then eventually in 2020, started this podcast with a friend of mine, Nick, and he's no longer on the show, but the show drives on, and here we go. Basically, it's a cop sitting in a donut shop and someone interesting walks in. They don't always have to be law enforcement based. As a law enforcement officer, we know when we're in uniform, pretty much everybody comes up and talks to us. Especially when we're trying to take a break and eat dinner or eat a lunch or something like that. It's not usually a bother, and sometimes you get interesting stories out of it. So that's kind of where I created the premise for this podcast and what it is today. Now let's get into the episode.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a massive downloaded list of podcasts, of episodes of certain podcasts I want to listen to.
Yeah.
And then starred, because I can't keep downloading, I'm just going to kill the phone.
Yeah.
Right. And now I have a child. So it's just pictures of him all day.
Yeah.
So now one of them are fighting for space.
Yeah.
Right. Or I wasn't taking that many pictures.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, oh shit. And I want to listen. And then normal everyday things are on either TV or live or radio. And I just want to listen to some music sometimes. And fuck, I don't have enough time. I need to stay up.
Joe has it nice because he's sitting on a lawnmower all day.
Right, exactly.
But he also listens in 0.15 or 1.
He goes fast?
He goes in 1.5 or 2x.
So
he listens to him in like super speed. So if it's a 2-hour Rogan podcast, he's done in an hour. And he's on the mower for 3 hours. So he might get 3 episodes done.
It just sounds like a chipmunk.
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
In his opinion, he's
just consuming the data more than anything.
Matrixing it.
Yeah. And for Joe, for him, he's not as concerned with things like syntax or the way they're pronouncing things or emphasis on certain words, and you're not going to really get it at high speed. Whereas I'm listening to, like, for instance, I'm listening to one right now on an author that I want to read his book. It's about the American Revolution and the impact on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And he his voice will start to elevate over points that he really is excited about. And then other points he's just kind of saying them. And you're like, okay, clearly this is what got you interested. And you have to include this because it is literally critical to the story. But it's not something you really like. And so I listened to those details. Now, maybe that's just because I'm probably autistic. Which I wouldn't be surprised. But like I was actually thinking about it on the way here too. For me, and I'm starting to put it more and more together as you get older. You're like, this is how I see the world now. And I understood this is how I probably always saw it, but couldn't articulate it. And everything's got patterns, parameters, or principles, right? And if you understand what that is from the person, then you can either work around them, you can exploit it, you can understand them better and work that to your value, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like sociologically diabolical, but
it helps. It speaks to leadership. It speaks to leadership.
Right.
And we talk about that a lot with just, in my field, in a law enforcement field, where people are taking a test and stuff like that, and they're scoring on academics or sometimes some subjective scenarios, but they're not necessarily leaders,
right?
And they're not administrators. There's things in law enforcement administration that needs to be done correctly to make things work, because it is also a business.
Yeah,
And so there's people that just don't fit the mold, and there's no training for that.
Right.
You know,
No, that's an innate. That's it. You have to have that, or have the want to do it and drive towards it. It's one of the things my supervisor realized as he came in. He's like, you know how to talk to these clients and these customers in a way that they trust you. They're calling you on the phone, just shooting the shit with you, and then you're able to exploit that in a good way, right? Of, hey, I need you to do me. I need this right now. I need you to do me this, or what have you. And even with foreigners. And it's like it's a really fun dynamic. And for me, it's like, well, this is how he says things. So this is what's most important to him. And then we can make conclusions off of that and prepare for a better operation. And then by the time they see it, they're like, oh, you understand me. You know where I'm coming from. And you're getting what you want faster, without harder negotiation, without giving up anything on your end.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's a good intro, and I'm leaving all of that in anyways,
Yeah.
Because you were rolling on it well. Welcome back to the Donut Shop Podcast. I'm Justin. I added in before this episode. It'll be the first time I throw in a little intro about myself, so no point in really going over it now. But I'm talking to a friend of mine from high school, long time, Stephen Triana. Local guy, does a lot of stuff. I'm not even going to really go into, whatever. I'll go into a little bit of a bio. You've got all kinds of stuff. This is what I explain to people. You're an NRA certified training guy. That it's one of those things that in the state of Florida, when you go to get a concealed weapons permit, you have to get signed off. Stephen trained my wife. Used to. They still don't.
No, it's not necessary anymore.
No, I know it's not necessary, but you can still get a concealed weapons.
If you're going to get the, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Like you can say, I still want a concealed weapons permit.
Yes. Yeah.
So like during the pandemic, he trained my wife and her old boss,
First customers.
High marks. Oh, really? First customers?
They were our first ones.
Okay. Well, hey, high marks on his training ability and his hands-on approach and stuff to firearms knowledge and range etiquette. So, doing that through your company, Triana Training Concepts. And then you've got some other stuff now that you do. I don't know if it's really stuff that you want to talk about on the podcast, but you were just going through it, talking about, negotiating with people overseas and all kinds of stuff. So.
We're currently work in the maritime industry. I work for a tech startup that was started by a gentleman that I made friends with years ago on a trip to Israel. And he had not even gotten anywhere near doing this thing. We were just friends and worked out a couple of years down the road. He moved back locally. He was always a local guy, and we just kind of missed each other every step of the way. Like he lived in Plantation, I lived down here, and then I lived in Virginia. Got my master's at George Mason.
Right, George Mason.
Yeah, and then he was also there working at Raytheon, and then I moved home. Then he moved home after me, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then he called me. He's like, "Hey, I know you do." I was working for a third-party logistics company, and he's like, "I know you do this stuff. I can use the help." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm in. Let's go." And yeah, that's it. I'm running mostly operations, which is my bread and butter. I love it. I can move just about anything around the world and know how to work around certain duties and taxes, so you're not getting slammed with fees and just kind of doing it like the way. Right. There's other ways. Yeah, you just got to know the system. So that's what I'm up to right now. It's been a lot of fun. I work with foreign entities. We're moving very, very fast. Our company created software and has a hardware component that we work with a third vendor with, or another vendor. And together we're able to monitor carbon emissions. Not that we're like hardcore green or whatnot, but there is the EU charges per amount of carbon, a certain number of carbon particles that are released in their waters, and they consider their waters far outside of standard international waters. So if you're 200 nautical miles within EU territory, you owe EU carbon tax, right? On the water.
As you move.
And what they do, the way they normally figured it out, or in the past anyway, up until us, is they would say, okay, you entered here, you went this distance, and you consumed how much fuel, and you'll send that in. And they do a very basic formula that assumes top-line combustion, which means every milliliter of fuel that came out of your vessel, right, because we're dealing with ships, that came out and was burned, like you said you used X amount of fuel, they're assuming every milliliter of that fuel was perfectly combusted.
Right.
Which is not how engines work.
Yeah.
Right? And so what you end up having are companies paying way higher in taxes than they should be if you could provide the actual carbon measurement.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So my buddy, Jacob, he sat down. He's like, there's got to be a way to measure this. And power plants do it. land-based power plants. So we found a company that could actually do this on boats and just convert their technology slightly and can handle the rocking of the ship, because there's a lot of different variables with a boat versus a land-based power plant, which has earth to stabilize, right? Versus the ocean. And it works out great. Now we finally got approval from the EU's own measuring agencies to say, okay, we're going to accept direct emissions because of the way you lay it out. We understand this is correct. The math works. We understand how you're developing it and getting it out. So we pioneered it. Really cool. And now we're taking the world by storm. I mean, there's a lot of cruise companies.
I always, because I remember, we remember as kids, like when you're on a road trip and you're trying not to run out of gas. So it's like mom turns off the radio, turns off the air conditioning, and is like, oh, we got to make it to the next exit.
Right.
We're like on super E.
Right.
But those things attribute to fuel.
Yeah.
So they burn fuel.
We monitor all of the generators themselves and what their electricity is producing. And then how's the ship utilizing it? And then beyond that, our software is really, really cool. The tech guys, they have just had an awesome breakthrough. I know this is like way further than what the podcast for, but
we've already lost everybody.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so thanks everyone. The one guy who's listening is probably going to be me.
Yeah. Your dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's really cool is we can also monitor how the ship is operating in various waters, right? So hulls are finicky, and they just are. It's just the way that they are. You can build the same ship almost identical, and for some reason, one hull will be happy in high salinity warm water and won't do well in cold, low salinity water.
Interesting.
And we don't know why. It just is a thing of construction and maybe that particular piece of steel, whatever. And so we can actually see those values and digital twin them into different environments and say, hey, look, for cruise companies, you keep running this boat in the Caribbean. Fine, do what you want. But understand it's not an efficient system. But when you ran it in Alaska, that thing killed it.
Yeah,
so
because you've got basically different oceans.
Right.
You've got big ports like Singapore has a lot of cruise ships that go out of Singapore.
Right.
You've got probably a bit of a different,
it's a totally different weather environment, water environment. And so what we're telling these companies is, once our system's on board, right, we're not just gathering this carbon data that you need. This is for you to be able to come up with better itineraries that can shrink the amount of time that you have to run at a higher speed. I mean, we watched a captain of a cruise company in Florida. I can't name them. In Florida of the central portion, potentially, and has a mascot that everyone knows.
You're giving way too much information.
Just saying. This could be Carnival or Royal. I don't know. Yeah, or another company.
Carnival has mascots with the big fin.
The fin guy and passengers. Also mascots. So
those are AI videos.
Yes, all of them, every last one. And so what we realized, we watched this one guy, one captain, open up the throttle and just haul through the North Atlantic on a stretch. I'm like, what'd you do that for? So I had to make it, and the currents weren't in my favor. What if you planned this better, right? And maybe added in an additional day, you'd lower how fast you had to go, which you wouldn't eat as much fuel.
So you're to dumb this down into a movie terminology, you're moneyballing all of this
pretty
stuff.
Much.
You're doing what they did, what Moneyball was.
Yeah.
You're looking at all the statistics, not saying like, oh, I've got the biggest, baddest cruise ship in the world or shipping container,
right?
Whatever. You're looking at all the variables. And I found that interesting when I was watching some review videos when the Ford Mach-E came out and they were discussing the software.
Sure.
Super nerding. I'm sorry, guys. They were discussing the software between Tesla. This guy did the exact same trip through Colorado, variable land where you're going up, you're going down mountains and stuff. And he said in the Ford Mach-E, this was couple years ago, so their software is probably updated, but Tesla had years of working on it. They were light years ahead of everybody. But there's things that Tesla takes into account when you say I'm going to Orlando. It measures a lot of stuff because it's searching Google, it's searching traffic and all this. It's got real-time traffic updates.
That's awesome.
And so the Ford Mach-E was not yet doing that. And so this guy was saying like when he'd be going up a mountain, the mountain would, or his fuel would say that he was going to land at his like final destination at negative 10%.
Okay.
But then when he'd hit the peak and then he'd be coming down, he's at plus 30
Right.
plus 30%. So it wasn't doing the math. Whereas he explained that the
Tesla
Tesla
understood
maintained it
right.
all. Like it
because
if
it understood the incline.
yeah, because it
Yeah.
knew the barometric pressure,
Right.
the
That's
weather,
awesome.
that it was either snowing or it was cold out. So
Sure.
the wind is going to be different or
Yeah,
whatever.
I nerd out
So
on that. That's so cool.
so
Yeah.
it's all interesting, and I'll give credit to Ford that they probably don't have, but I'm going to assume that they've updated their software. They're
Sure.
constantly learning this
Right.
kind of stuff, and so just like I was saying, Tesla had a number of years of trial and error. I'm sure the first year of Tesla, it was like, what?
Yeah, that Roadster does not nearly do as well as the
Yeah.
S, and then later models of the S's and everything
Yeah.
else. So
So you guys are essentially doing the same
pretty
sort
much
of thing, like
yeah,
working
and
that.
learning and
Yeah.
learning more, like what else we can do, and the maritime industry is very slow to change. Parabolic bows have been around for quite some time, and now you're just now seeing it in newer cruise ships.
What's
So
a parabolic
it's
bow?
the shape of the front, right?
Is that one that has kind of like a torpedo underneath
It's-
the water, or
No. That's different. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I could no. This is the shape. Like it looks like normally you have the angle up, like almost like a 45-degree angle straight out to the point. Now it's almost like a 20, 30 degree at best, or
Wow.
well, 40, almost 40, I should say, because it's almost straight line. So yeah, instead of here, it's almost 90, I guess.
So it's just a different angle.
It's a different angle, which is able to produce a phenomenon that allows water to slide along the side of the hull instead of pushing into it and creating that friction. The way it's designed, it creates this neat little air pocket or barrier, and it just glides. And so it's really, really cool. But that's been around for a long time. It took forever to get them to accept as this is what we can do and build from there. So little things come in.
Yeah.
But now everyone's trying to do what we've been doing, but not really understanding what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so now we're getting the interest, let's put it that way. And
Sweet.
so it's really cool. And we're working with shipyards now, which is another monster.
Yeah.
And then the foreign entities. So I've been dealing
Cool.
with quite a lot over a very small period, but we're excited. I mean, I think we're like right there to break out, and we get that, and hopefully that'll be my exit strategy. I don't have to worry about getting other jobs. I've worked enough.
Yeah,
Of
cool.
all these other silly jobs. So,
You've bounced around.
Yes.
So like one of the things that we talked about before, your dad's retired Miami-Dade.
Yep.
police
Today is his retirement. Was his retirement
Anniversary.
day? Yeah, anniversary. Yeah,
I was
sorry,
like, he's been
anniversary. I'm sorry.
retired for a while.
Yeah. He
but
beat
he was,
the average.
He was a Miami-Dade police officer because they only recently became the
Came to
sheriff's
office. Yeah.
So he retired Miami-Dade.
Metro Dade when he joined.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's a whole nother
Dade
name.
Personal Safety, I think, is actually the initial name of it, and then it became the Metro Dade Police Department, and then finally Miami-Dade, and then finally Miami-Dade Sheriffs.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you did that. So you come from a law enforcement
do.
family, and you learned about law enforcement, and you tried to get into law enforcement.
I did.
Tell us in the audience, because sometimes there's aspiring police officers that watch
Yeah.
this show and kind of want to learn a little bit about law enforcement. So tell us your side of law enforcement that didn't work for you.
Didn't work. Yeah, I never really wanted to do local PD. Dad did that, right? And I had an uncle who was also sitting in Miami, and then my aunt joined the Department of Transportation as a special agent. And that was really cool. She was stationed here in Miami. I was like, oh, that's a neat idea, right? And then you and I think maybe even talked about it in high school, where I was like, I really wanted like governmental, federal level stuff, and maybe even intelligence, what have you. But yeah, as I got older, I got through college. I'm like, you know what? This is actually not a bad career. There's good money in it. My two older cousins, Mark and Robert, became police officers. One of them is now a Davy, and he's probably getting close to retirement now. And then my cousin Robert is with Miami-Dade, so he's the second Triana in there. I was hoping to be the third.
Yeah.
And then my cousin Ryan is with Hollywood SWAT. I think I've told you that a couple of times. He does like drones and everything. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, right, like, all right, I'm next in line. Seems like a good idea. I just come back from college. I hadn't. Or I got my master's and I was coming down, I was trying to figure out what to do. And I'm like, well, I have my master's, and maybe I'll just do local, maybe for 5-10 years, less, hopefully. Carl, I think, did it for only a handful of years before he joined.
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 max, and he was with DSS. I'm like, all right, that'll be my path. So I started, I think, with, who was the first one? Miami-Dade, I think, was the first one I applied to. I got relatively close in up to right through, I think, one of the interviews. And then they're like, yeah, no, we're not. I'm like, what? Don't you know who my dad is? Like, my dad knows everybody. Like, I know the director, right? That was Bobby Parker at the time. So dad was a little bummed. I was bummed. All right, no problem. Did Pines. Pines kept doing delays. Now this is not too long after. It's about what? 7 or 8 years, I think, maybe 10 max after 9/11. So there's money, but Pines kept running into budget problems. They were wanting to hire, then couldn't hire, and had to keep pausing. And then, so I was moving through Pines pretty good. And then they paused for like 6 months. But this has been almost a year now. And I don't know if it's still the rule, but at the time, you had to keep going to that silly playground over at BC.
Oh, so then your agility test,
my agility expired.
Expire. Yeah, they're
right?
like 6. They only
6 months
for 6 months.
But you don't. But the way I understood that was, well, if I'm in the process, you saw it approved. It's what you took to my application.
Yeah.
So how do I have to keep doing this for?
Yeah.
So I didn't think anything about it. Well, now it's like, okay.
Well, you could have become a fat, lazy piece of shit in 6 months.
In 6 months, yeah. And so I call him. I'm like, hey, are we? Oh no, we restarted, but you've been rejected. You didn't. Well, number one, were you going to tell me? And number two, why? Oh, well, your agility expired. It didn't when I submitted. Why? Nowhere in your application, and I think there was like one line I must have not read, and it was like, oh, you have to keep this active. I'm like, okay, so there goes Pines. Fort Lauderdale, I got the farthest end, and I would say this one's the one that stings me the most. Is I did did my tests and everything. I scored, I think like a 98 on the CJ bat.
Yeah.
Right, like this, you got to be a moron to screw that test up. And I watch people do it. Did the agility again. Like I know that playground like the back of my hand. And then I sit with Fort Lauderdale. I do their panel. I am the highest scoring out of all of them, right? And the way Fort Lauderdale works, I think this is the way they still do it, is they rank top 10 out of their class of recruits that they're bringing in for interviews, right? And so you have to get into that top 10 to get a spot at the police academy. If you're 11 or 12, your goal is to pray someone screws up in the top 10, and then you elevate.
Or takes a different agency.
Or takes or gets another opportunity, but somehow they drop out. Right, so that if you're in that 11, something like UM in the CFP, right? We need people to drop out or lose. So I'm like, all right, I'm doing, I got this. I'm getting ready, and I knew they called me and were like, you have scored the highest out of all 50 applicants or whatever the applicant pool was. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, no. Understand that there's there's a gap, and then there's 2 through 10. I'm like,
Sweet.
All right. This is in the back. I'm like calling my buddies. I'm calling, I'm telling Dad. I'm like, Dad, gonna be a Fort Lauderdale cop. How cool is this, right? I knew a fantastic individual. He's the police union captain, Jack Lakinski. Unfortunately passed away from pancreatic cancer. What a wonderful. I'd known him my entire life.
Oh, yeah. He was a good guy.
He was a great guy. He was an absolutely great guy. His daughter is a phenomenal lawyer now. So if Jesse's listening. So Jack was like, you should be good, right? Like this should be just like a no-brainer at this point. And then they asked for what was it they asked for? I think just like how many you got to fill out like how many tickets you got. Now that's where this becomes. I grew up with a cop for a dad, right? And so I learned how to drive from him. He drove like a bat out of hell, but and I watched him get pulled over on a handful of occasions. Just like, hey, on the job, Bubba. Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool.
Different day and age, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's not the same anymore for sure. But then it was like, show the badge. Have a nice day, Sarge. No problem. Yeah. Okay. And off he went. So it's like, all right, this should be good for me. And look, you remember, I was getting tickets all the damn time in high school. Yeah. So I put in all of them. Like, they're like, as long as you're honest. I'm like, okay. And most of them got dismissed, either because my dad helped, or I would just show up and the drill.
Or ticket school or
whatever. Yeah. Most of them was just, I would just keep going to court with all of them. I like going to court anyway. It was fun. You get to listen to all the other stupid cases. Yeah. And then nobody ever showed up. So I took advantage, right? Now it's like mandatory overtime. You get the 4 hours guaranteed. So you're going to show up. Yeah. Right? Because everyone exploited the loophole. So I forgot I had gotten pulled over on, I don't remember. I needed to go get a tape returned to Blockbuster. That's how old we are. Yeah. And it was getting close to that noon. Yeah. Right? And I didn't want to get the late fee. So I hauled ass out of there without my wallet. I coming back over Sheridan, over the 75 bridge. Pines picks me up. Okay, no problem. The guy's like, I'm like, dude, I live right there. My dad's a cop, the whole spiel. And he's like, just take it. You're going to get a seatbelt violation. Okay, fine. Whatever. So I covered it. Forgot to write it down. Fort Lauderdale was like, you lied. You're out.
They didn't have you pull a driving record?
I did, but it wasn't there. It was dismissed.
Huh. That's weird. That sucks.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't a seatbelt violation. I take it back. I'm sorry. It was
insurance.
Didn't have a license. Oh. And it was easy to prove.
Yeah, which is a $25 administrative fee.
If I showed up. The court didn't even care.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, here's my license. I had it. I just couldn't find it. It was like in my seat cushions or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, have a nice day, Mr. Triana. You're fine. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So to me, and I argued this back to them. I tried to appeal it. I'm like, guys, it was dismissed. In the eyes of the law, it doesn't exist. And like, yeah, no, that's not how we see things. I was like, yeah, of course. And I think there was a little bit of internal politics where there was somebody sitting in the 11 below.
Ooh.
And it was
like, well, this is a hair out of place.
This is enough to go, and we can yank one and move him up. So I got, that one sucked a lot. That one's probably the one that hurt me the most. Was them. Did a little bit of run in Miramar. And then same thing in DC. So reckless driving here is 20 over, right? And 20, something close to that. But in Virginia, it is not. The Commonwealth treats it at 15. I didn't know that. You move to a new state.
Right,
what are you gonna do? Sit there and read the damn logbook? You figure it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
I was young.
Just don't drive like an idiot. Oh, wait a minute.
You're talking to me.
Yeah.
So I got yanked on the highway, and I'm like, okay. No, I didn't even realize it. So I showed up to court, challenged it, and like I always do. It's just a normal process for me. And the court was like, this is your final disposition. It's a misdemeanor. Paid my fine. Call it a day. So now DC Metro is open applications. I know the assistant chief. Hey, she told my dad, just put him in. Okay, no problem. Did that. And then it was, you're lying. About what now? What am I lying now? I literally listed everything. And it was, you said you didn't have a felony. I didn't have a felony. It was a traffic citation. No, in this state, that was reckless. That was a felony. I mean, well, okay, fine. But it was dropped. The final disposition is a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Same problem with Fort Lauderdale. It was dismissed. This is how the law sees it, right? Nothing. So that was out. NYPD. I did NYPD as a matter of fact.
Serious?
I don't know if I ever told you that. Yeah, I did NYPD. I flew up. I did their test. I did their ridiculous physical. They have like a whole day of physical fitness. You're dragging bodies. You're jumping up ropes and all this other goofy shit. And
just to lean on a wall in Times Square. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. and I almost screwed that up because you're supposed to get like a certified check. I mean, I'm a scatterbrain half the time. And so I forgot to get that. And it was like Columbus Day, and that's like a major holiday in New York at the time. So I barely got into that. I'm going through everything. Psychologist. Got that one. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, come on, man. And so I just stopped. I was like, you know what? I think this is a sign that it's just not going to be for me. But it all really stemmed off the damn driving record.
Yeah, ultimately, your biggest fatal flaw for you was the driving record, which
wasn't like I was knocking off candy stores.
You're also talking about a period of time in the after 2000, post 9/11 time, where, as you said, like Pines was bouncing around with funding. Yep. It was also a probably stricter time.
Absolutely,
we were probably at our peaks of everybody was filled, so competition was greater. You had a lot of people coming back from war, so you had a high military influx where they're getting bonus points.
Yeah, I'm losing on veteran preference every time.
Veterans preferences. Yeah. So not to negate anything, but just to say something that may in 2025 get looked over.
Absolutely.
Especially if, like I've always told people throughout my career, like kids when they're like, oh, I did marijuana or I had a bad driving record. It was always just separate yourself from it. Show that you've got 3, 4, 5 years of no tickets, no whatever, no indiscretions.
Right.
It'll be better for you. But back then it was tight.
You had to be a Boy Scout.
It was a tight time, which is Boy Scout, which is why I got the job.
Exactly.
But so I mean, it drives a good point of how things move around and how things bounce back and forth, where things are tighter or where things are looser. Like I said, today it's a bit easier. We're hiring anybody with a pulse.
Yeah, I mean, and my dad and I laugh about it. I was like, man, I'm always just missing the mark or the right time.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm seeing complete dipshits getting hired, and I was like, how the hell? We were talking about what's his face the other day.
Yeah. From Lauderhill.
Yeah, from Lauderhill. Like, how the fuck did this guy get hired?
Yeah.
You know, so.
All right. Well, cool. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Yo, what's up, guys? I want to do a follow-up. I used to run an ad or commercial for my friends at HPTRT, Human Performance, talking about like testosterone therapy or, all that kind of stuff. I finally have been I've been using it. I've been, a member of the program for over 6 months now. I got my second round of labs, and I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. When I first was tested, I was at 330. I'm a 43-year-old man, and my test was at 330. I didn't even go through the injections. I'm going through a couple different types of prescription pills that they have to help me out. All legal, all on the up and up. But after this 6 months, my test has gone up to 910. As somebody who works out 3 to 4 times a week, wants to stay young, wants to stay healthy with all this stuff. It's helped with all kinds of stuff, like my focus, continuing to get me like the best sleep that I've ever gotten. I've enjoyed it. So go over to hp-trt.com and check it out. You can bring, if you've had lab work within the last 6 months, you can bring your own lab work and they'll start you up. If you haven't, then you pay for the lab work through them. Or you can just go to your own doctor and do your lab work through your normal insurance, which I'm sure has a zero copay, if anything. And use the code DSP20, and that'll get you 20% off forever, as long as you're a member, as long as you use Human Performance. So it's a great program, good people over there. So go ahead and get it done. And if you've been thinking about it, or if you've looked at recent tests in your testosterone and you want a boost of that kind of stuff, get into it, because you can also get the testosterone through them as well as peptides and other things. So DSP20 will get you 20% off. Good luck. All right, we're back. Yeah, so he's telling me all the other agencies and just interesting for you, because that's how I did it, or not how I did it, but that was my same sort of thought process. Sure. Like when I went through college and I was hosting career fairs and all this kind of stuff, I really wanted to do Secret Service, financial, like money laundering, or, money crimes and absolutely. Stuff like that. That's the cool stuff. Or cellular fraud and stuff. And that was all becoming big in the early 2000s. So that's what I wanted to do. And I asked the Secret Service guys, like, hey, I'm the guy you guys have been communicating with. I set all this up. I'm hoping that it's going to be like, oh yeah, it was really great working with you. Right. Drop us a line. But they were like, yeah, you're going to want to get a master's degree or experience locally. Yep. So I was kind of like, at the time, I'm like, man, I've already been through school for 15 years of my life now. I'd kind of like to get out into the real world and put some boots on the ground. So I was like, all right, I'll go get experience. And then I came home, got experience, and then after a couple of years, I'm like, I don't really want to waste any more time, or spend any more time. Right. Obviously I wasn't old, but I don't want to get any older and then move into another career. This thing where the agency I work for. Not going to mention it, so don't mention it.
I'm not going to mention it. Or if I do, just bleep me out.
Yeah, I've done that. Things were good and things were moving along, and I was getting involved in the union, and the money was great, and learning about pension and all that kind of stuff. Sure. I was like, all right, cool. There was a lot of opportunities as far as off-duty stuff to make extra money. So I was like, I'm just going to stick it out. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to, because then when you go federal, then it's like you're moving around.
There's no OT.
You're bouncing city to city, you're moving across the country, you're doing different assignments. So, ultimately I am where I am. And now I'm going to be 43 years old, retiring from law enforcement. Awesome. So versus if I went to Secret Service, God knows how much longer I'd be working.
Yeah, you'd probably be there for another 10 more years.
And I probably would have been furloughed for the last month and a half.
Or stuck in like Des Moines doing god awful work.
I would have got some great Slipknot concerts.
Exactly.
During that
That's
time,
about all you would have had. Yeah. Just like what else? And then just dead birds and icy winters.
Yeah.
It's just the Great Plains.
So, everything happens for a reason. I guess we could probably say.
If any of those courses had worked out, even with CIA, NSA, my master's degree and how I got to that degree, and just completely useless to me at this point. I literally just paid it.
What was your master's
in biodefense, bioweapons. Wow. Like a national security, bio warfare. Yeah. Which I loved. It was
George
awesome.
Mason.
George Mason. Yeah. George Mason's got a biodefense program, which was
one time really good basketball school.
Once. Yeah. And then Larinaga came down to UM. I was like very excited about that. Yeah. The program itself was founded with one of the top Soviet scientists who defected. His name was Ken Alibek. He came over to the United States, told him all about the Soviet vector program and everything that the Soviets have been working on. And then, you know, he lived his life, you know, Cold War's well over at this point. And then he started this program at Mason. I think I was like maybe the fifth or sixth class
Of graduating
of that
master's,
program getting a master's degree and then moving forward. And I stumbled onto it. I still don't know to this day how they did not cancel my summer course because there's 3 of us. 3?
Yeah.
Like, those normally get canceled. And that's how I learned about the program. So I made a switch from political science into that, and I got the degree, and then I used that to go to the NSA and CIA, and I got pretty far. But again, just me sabotaging myself with stupidity.
Really?
Yeah, with NSA, that was probably, and that's still to this day, like, I get embarrassed. I did everything right. Like, it was so cool. I was so excited. And just 2 weeks prior to them calling me, I used to work at a bank, and I got fired from the bank because I had a mouth. And you know me. I said some choice words to a coworker who was completely useless. And I was sick and tired of just covering for them. I won't, because I don't want to be gender biased here. But I called her a fucking idiot and an oxygen thief, among other things, loudly. Yeah. And now it probably might not have been as bad, I think, if we were a normal bank branch, but this is like a branch in a supermarket. So all the customers heard me because I am a rather loud individual, and I was so pissed. All right, whatever. So hostile work environment, I understand.
Yeah.
So I left. They called me. I'm like, look, I need to make it clear to you, right? Like, guys, I just got fired like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Understand that. So if you want to move forward, great, but don't sit there and drag me through through this whole process and a security clearance and everything, and then not, right? Didn't come back and go, oh well, you got fired. Well, yeah, I told you that. So everything was fine. Psychologist got me every time. Yeah. I was cocky going in. I was full of piss and vinegar. I was 26, 27. I knew how smart I was. Probably not nearly as smart as I thought I was anyway.
Well, and what I think, I've only been through one psychological evaluation. But yeah. So maybe my approach works.
Yeah.
I just went in there with honesty and didn't try to game.
Sure.
Didn't try to be the psychologist.
Right.
Ultimately, I now, do I remember if I had it figured out beforehand, or if I had it figured out during, or figured it out afterwards? And I think it's more of an afterwards thing. Yeah. But the guy Stillman that did a lot of Broward County agencies.
Yeah.
And through talking to other officers, he does as a psychologist challenge you and try to make you and try to play upon faults.
That's what happened.
And so as a police officer, you don't want to hire a guy who gets incited by someone making fun of you or someone demeaning you.
Yeah.
And so he tried to demean me by saying, you went to public school. Your education cannot be as good as my daughter's education who went to a private school.
Okay.
And I can't believe you made it through a university and I'm just sitting there knowing and being confident going, well, I have a degree.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
I'm done.
I don't really care what that means. And what you're saying, evidently to me, this public school education did just fine because I earned a degree. I wasn't magna cum laude or something like that, but I also didn't try to do that. I tried to enjoy my life in my head.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also, whether you want to call it passive, I let it go. Like, I'm not going to argue with somebody, but also in my opinion, sitting at a table with this man is a senior person to me, or I owe him some sort of respect because he's a doctor, he's a licensed clinician or whatever. So I'm not necessarily going to talk back to him because I'm not in a position of authority to give that. But I understand that if I'm a police officer and somebody's talking shit, and as long as I have the law on my side, I'm going to go at them and effect either an arrest, avert my authority, do what I have to, if I have to. And that's a whole nother conversation about society today and what we see on TikTok and stuff. But so
he got me in that way, but a different way.
So he kind of got you.
Yeah. Oh no, he nailed.
Or the different.
It was but and it's so funny you say that because now you've just cleared up a whole like, oh, now I know why he did it. Yeah. I didn't understand at the time. I thought he was just generally asking questions, and he was asking me about what happened at the bank, and I was very conciliatory. I was doing really good, I thought anyway, like running into this. But he must have seen that this was like something that is embarrassing to me, but I didn't feel almost like Colonel Jessup.
Yeah.
Right. Like A Few Good Men. Like he wants to say this.
Yeah.
And I think he figured that part out. And he's like, did you think this was a good idea? And I just blew up. I'm like, do you think I think it was a good idea? No, of course
you're
not.
Done, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was right as soon as you said it. I'm like,
you are not.
But I was on a roll. I remember to this day, Justin, because it was so traumatic after the fact, of course. And it was, I'm like, do you think I think it was a good idea? No, of course not. This was just embarrassing. This was terrible for me. I could have done it. He goes, well, why'd you say it? Like very calm. I'm like, listen, dude. Or something. I said, listen, I am a freight train of information up top, right? My brain is going like, I remember to this day, I was snapping. I'm like, my brain is going like this, not knowing I have ADHD. Just thought I was a fast thinker, right? And faster than everyone else at the time. And so it was, I am thinking ahead of everyone else. I'm 10 steps ahead of everyone else. And I had this friggin' moron sitting next to me. I'm listening out of one ear, doing with a customer, dealing with my clients, watching her screw up. And you want to know why I called her this name? I think it's pretty clear. Was I happy about it? No. Am I embarrassed? Of course, because I didn't get to keep a job anymore. And I got to explain this to you. But yeah, don't ever challenge me on that one. I know what I did was wrong, but it was, and he's like, did you feel better? At the time, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was, no, we can't be risking that with national security implications. And this wasn't like a low-level NSA job. This was a global terrorism. They were going to give me either a weapon or a person or a country or something. And it was like, you will be the subject matter expert here.
Yeah.
And then you have to be the briefer. And are you okay knowing that your reports could lead to the death of others? Yeah, of course I am. That's national security. It's what it is. Everything answered correctly except where you got me right where I needed to, and it was my ego.
The ego,
yeah,
the ego, and that's what it is, and that's what we and that's almost, I would think, the top of the tree of
Absolutely.
what they're trying to identify and trying to bring out.
Yep.
They're trying to spur in these psychological
Absolutely.
tests,
Yeah.
and so that's where I'll go back and say my ego is softer,
But it was always like that. I mean, you've always been a
more chill,
Yeah.
and so it's not going to trigger me. But now I so much more observe it and understand it and see it, and I can pick it out in these videos that we watch on social media now, where it's like the ego is what get it. And granted, I either through biology now with trying to raise testosterone in life and everything like that, which also builds your ego.
Yeah,
and everything.
absolutely.
But I recognize it, and it's important for all of us to recognize. But you've got to have different kind of people in the world. You've got
Just wasn't right for me.
You've got to have people that are, whether you're actually on the spectrum or not. We're all pretty much on the spectrum because this spectrum has become so broad. In
if you're not,
years.
you're weird.
Exactly. So where you fall is valuable in other areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it may not be valuable in law enforcement.
Yeah, it always bugs me, of course, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got now 4 or 5 all together that are police officers, right? My friend, you, some of the guys I hang out with, the guys that I train, that I go to their classes for, who are, Chris, you have here. There's always that camaraderie because they know, like, the world, this feeling, you know what it's like to say when that dark humor comes up or comments are being made, like you get it, right? Where they know they're gonna be a little bit more careful in general civilian world, right? Like I can go kind of between that world without knowing, and I'll never pretend otherwise, like, oh yeah, I'm one of you guys, right? But it's kind of treated that way in a sense. A lot with the military friends, with a lot of our friends equally that we have, that, and all the guys that I've met. They're like, yeah, about this stuff, so it's cool. Like you're here. But when I helped out a few guys, including one of my old students, to become a police officer, he's going into BSO, and he's like, I got my polys coming up. Let's sit down and talk about those. And I did 3. NSA put me 3 on purpose. I learned just to see if you break on any of your answers. And then I did one for Secret Service, FBI as well. And then, I've done them all. Like, I've been on the box at least 6 or 7 times.
You ever did a voice stress analysis, or you ever do a voice stress analysis?
They did those later. I think I did it the one NSA, I think, was the one who did it with me.
Probably NSA.
Yeah, NSA, and I think FBI was, no, Secret Service did it.
I did one it was probably 03, going for an internship with Orange County up in Orlando. And they dinged me just because you've told stories about
Yes,
not
come
passing.
join. One of us.
I didn't get the Orange County. It was a freaking internship. I'm a
Sure.
college student just trying to do an internship. And I did a voice stress analysis, which is very similar to a polygraph. Polygraph, for anybody that doesn't know, measures, you can go back and check out an earlier episodes of the Donut Shop podcast. It measures body mechanics, body rhythms, heartbeat, breathing, and stuff. Voice stress is literally just a microphone that you're speaking into that is listening to vibrations.
They were doing
your
both.
vocal cords.
They would do both. They strapped you up and put the microphone, and they had two computers running at the same time.
So Orlando, I don't remember exactly how Orange County had it, but one of the questions on paper first, they ask you the questions on paper, and then they ask you them again, and they're always affirmative questions, yes or no, yes or no. It's not like you see in some TV shows where they're like asking you to tell a story or whatever. It's only ever yes or no,
because that's where you see the fluctuations.
Yeah. Are you sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts today? Yes. You know, like those kind of things.
And they force you to lie in the beginning so that they can see the difference and know the control.
A known lie.
A known lie. Yeah.
So they asked me if I'd ever done anything. Central Florida is big on this. Have you ever done anything sexually deviant that could come back to bite the department?
Love that one.
And I think one of my teachers explained this to us. They said it's just very prevalent that they ask this in Central Florida, that other places don't ask that. And I didn't get asked it down here in South Florida.
Okay.
But, and this was before this was pre-social media, pre-OnlyFans, all that kind of stuff. So they ask it. And of course, in my defense, I'm envisioning, I'm a college student. I'm, sexual revolution of your life as a college student. Yeah. So I'm just thinking
in the 2000s.
Not anything that I'd done. I'm just thinking of cool stuff I've seen in magazines too. Nudie Magazine Day. I was 18 not too long ago. And so I think that just quivered my voice thinking about it. Yeah. Not thinking I'd done anything beyond, general tactics, and that
was it.
And so they said that, and then they said, have you been deceptive at all? Right. That was like the final question. And I said, no. And they said that showed deception. And I'm like, so they didn't take me.
Because you're questioning it in your head. Yeah.
But so, or I'm still thinking about, some hardcore porn that I might've watched or something like that,
Which really wasn't hardcore back then comparative to today. I mean, Jesus.
And it wasn't me. It was
I was just watching.
Yeah.
I got that question, Secret Service UD, Uniform Division, sat me down and they're like, okay, but this is before you even go to the box, right? The polygraph. It was, all right, let's just talk about it. Have you ever done drugs? No, man, never done drugs. Really? Like, never done drugs? You didn't even I was like, no, trust me. I will give you every list of a human that I've spoken to in high school, up to through college. Yeah. Trust me. Like, okay. You ever done anything illegal? I've downloaded songs.
Yeah. Right?
A lot.
That's totally something that I probably never even thought of.
Scared back then because that was like when it was really when RIA.
That was the height.
That was the height of you were going to jail, right? Like you're going to spend your life in prison. I'm like, Jesus, I'm going to murderers because I downloaded a freaking Freebird or a Slipknot album, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, how much? Now that's where I maybe fibbed a little bit. I'm like, not that many, just a handful of albums at most. No, I had like a library, but no big deal. Then I couldn't believe they asked me like, you ever done anything sexually deviant? I'm like, is there a definition to this? Yeah. And they're like, yeah.
Can you go through a slideshow perhaps?
Yeah. Do you have examples? Yeah. They go, or let me ask you, because you ever had sex with farm animals? I'm like, I'm sorry. I should laugh. I'm like, what did you just ask me? And these guys are stone-faced service agents, right? Yeah. Secret Service agents. And they're like, this is not a laughing matter. I'm like, okay, who would answer yes to that question? Yeah. And like, we need an answer from you. I'm like, no. And they're going, well, like never really, like, it's a prank, or you got close maybe, or it was like a fraternity thing. Like number one, that's not a fraternity I wanted to be in. Yeah. And number two, didn't join a fraternity. It's like, okay, but like no one ever challenged you, maybe even gave you a ton of money. Dude, I have not had sex with farm animals. Is that the answer you're looking for? Because that's what I'm going to tell you right now. That's the only way I can put this. I can't say no enough. Okay. I thought that was hysterical. So my former student, he was like, what are they going to ask me? I'm like, they're going to ask you this question in some form. Yeah. I'm like, you cannot laugh. You got to just be stone-faced. You got to keep an even keel. Just know the answers. You have to believe the answers. And I'm not telling anybody how to beat a polygraph. You just have to be honest. Yeah. Right? It's okay as long as they know the problem is coming. So have you stolen anything? Yeah. I was a 10-year-old kid, took a candy bar, didn't even realize until I got home. I'm like, oh shit. And then maybe did it again because I got away with it the first time. That's okay. Right? The Publix thing. Remember, I walked out with beer. For
Right, like
not me.
Like I told him that just like a month before my interview, I had told him that I was in the backseat of a two-door Civic, went to a building in the city where I work now. I was in the backseat. We were on our way to a Heat game. It wasn't my call where we were going, and I witnessed a weed deal from a guy we went to high school with.
Sure.
So I was like, "Holy crap, guys! I'm processing to be a police officer, and you just bought weed." And I couldn't get out of this car because it was a coupe.
Right.
So I
was trapped.
But I provided the answer
Right.
that I was there for it. And basically the sergeant just told me, yeah, try not to associate with that guy anymore. And I was like, okay, gotcha. I understood.
I moved out of my house that I was living in Virginia when I started the NSA process because they're like, do you live with foreigners? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. These are actual Russian nationals coming over like fresh off the boat. I had a Tajik political a refugee who was also coming over. He was like a nice guy. I didn't know anything more about it other than he's like, I'm from Tajikistan, and if anyone caught wind of what I was doing here, they'd probably kill my family back home. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. But he was like this wiry little IT guy. Like, he was a goofball. So when I was like, these are all foreigners. Like, you need to leave. Okay. So called my aunt. I'm like, gotta have to move back into the basement here because I can't live here anymore and do this, the security clearance. I think what bugs me the most about that too, I realized late in the game, years down the road, I got a clearance, but they didn't issue it, right? Because NSA, FBI, and CIA are the only ones who do everything in-house. So my buddy who did DEA got bounced from DEA. Like, they're like, never apply here again, kind of a thing. Like, they were just so pissed about his record. And then he goes to the Army, sits down, and they're like, oh, because OPM, Office of Personal Management, does DEA and everybody else's backgrounds. They never got the memo from DEA that they had removed him from the pipeline, so they kept processing him. They gave him a clearance. Huh. And the guys at the Army like, oh, you have a secret clearance. Congratulations. We can give you a promotion, all this extra money, and you get all these other opportunities and jobs. Like, yeah, bro, like, I got a TSC sitting here. I know it exists, right? Like the highest level with skiff clearance and everything. And I could never access. It was right on the other side. Yeah. So that killed me on like government jobs for consulting or whatever. I was like, but it's not my thing. I get to be here. And
so what does the NSA do?
Oh, National Security Agency? Yeah. Oh man, their primary focus is signals intelligence. So they are gathering information. Today it's pretty much like they are now the show, where it used to be CIA because you do human intent, so human, human, SIGINT, all that jazz. They do majority of their lives as SIGINT. A lot of cyber signals intelligence. SIGINT. Okay. And so they're sucking in everything and then parsing it out. And then what my job would have been was to see the raw data, because where I would have been positioned, the section I would have been in gets access to the data first. And then, so let's say I was doing like Iran nuke, right? Which I actually knew a good chunk about. And that was one of my thesis papers, was that they would have said, okay, I get to pull like, hey, what do we have on this? Anything flagged, whatever. It comes into my office or my desk first. I would write my first report. That would get kicked to the Iran desk, right? And then Iran desk would look at it, and now they're seeing the data through my filter, right? They can still access.
So Jack Ryan.
Yes.
Like the TV show.
Like TV
show. Jack Ryan and TV show.
But a lot of it is just filtered down.
Yes. Working through stuff, finding
100%.
Finding trends, finding patterns.
Exactly.
Identifying them, creating a report, and then submitting it to the next.
To the decision makers, right? But they would have seen, but the cool part was I get access to it first, right? Yeah. So they have to now see it through my lens, not the initial raw lens. They could probably access it, but I've already tainted the thought process, right? And so it was a much higher level for what I would have been doing. I would have been on the analytical side. They had a ton of nerds there, like can do encryption, kind of crazy hacking, you name it. So that's their primary goal, is mostly signals. Yeah. They're like more secret squirrel than CIA. I say everyone knows about CIA. I mean, I did their process. It was a lot of fun. And I realized in my interview, I was way too young to be sitting here. And it was just so cool to have gotten that far in the CIA process of being an actual operations person. I could have gone into the clandestine service, but it was like 23 years old, 24, and like 90% of my answers are, yeah, me and my dad, or I did this as a kid, and They're like, have you ever lived?
Minimal life
It
experience.
was not anywhere where it needed to be.
Yeah, you're not these guys that are veterans that are.
Dude, I mean, so I sat next to, right? In an information session at the end, like I'm sitting down next to these people at the time. I'm like, hey, how you doing, Steve? I was like, oh, hey, former Air Force, or I'm in the Air Force, I'm in the Navy, I did this, or I'm in this agency, and it's like,
yeah,
I work at a nonprofit down the street in DC, and doing this is like first job ever of a real people job.
Yeah.
And so they give you like this information, and like, okay, write a cable home, giving us your analysis. So I'm like, just basically summarizing what I'm reading. I'm going, oh, that's not what I should be doing. I have a feeling I'm doing this wrong. And I just kind of like glanced over at the other guy. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not doing this right. So I'm like, great. I've got 3 minutes to write as fast as I can. I could barely read my handwriting to begin with. So that already sets me in the wrong direction. The next day was the interview, and the interview was just like, I'm way too young for this, but we'll see. Yeah. So I got one step away from the farm. I was like, oh, almost.
Yeah. Super close.
Yeah, so that was it. But yeah, that was. I've got these ridiculous, you know me. I got stories on stories and stuff. So.
All right, well, let's take another break, and then let's talk about like kind of the firearm side and all that stuff. So we'll get right back to it. Yo, what's up, everybody? I want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com, but this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast, PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats. I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show. And don't forget, donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. What's in the cup? Guys, what's in my cup? Blackout Coffee Company. We joined up with them. I've been drinking it and I enjoy it. And I think you may enjoy it as well. So you can go over to our website and click the link, or you can just go to their website, blackoutcoffee.com, and use our coupon code to get 10% off. The code is DSP10. So go over, check it out. Yeah, so we'll come back in on this, but to that point, with the TikTok and the short attention spans and stuff, that's part of the thing that I enjoy about podcasting now. Even for me, people, some people are looking at me or asking me, like, how are you gonna do this? It's gotta be tough to get guests. And realistically for me, like, yeah, okay, I'm trying to catch.
Maybe you brought me in.
Well, no, it's tough to get guests. Well, this is where I'm going at. I may be looking for the whale. I may be trying to get Shaquille O'Neal here, which is like one of my top tier that I want to sit down with Shaq.
That'd be awesome.
But I want to sit
talk like this.
I'm gonna have to fine tune the microphones, but
have him sit over here so his voice.
But my thing is like, just like with you, like, we talk sometimes on the phone and stuff like that, and it's like we find out, oh crap, it's been a half hour, we got to go. But it's hard to get anybody in 2025 to sit down and have a conversation with you anymore because we've all got other calls, we've all got other things. Right. We just sometimes don't have the attention span or the want to talk on the phone with somebody. Right. Or a lot of times, like, I try to do it like when I'm driving on the road. Yep. Like I called my buddy from my house over on I-75 to here, which is like a 6-mile drive. Sure. Just because I had to tell him a quick story. And it's like, this is my opportunity. So when I have the opportunity for Donut Shop Podcast to lock somebody into a room for 1 hour, 2 hours, I can have a full-blown conversation about stuff that I've wanted to talk to him about. Yeah. So there's things that I have not talked to you about that I'd like to get more information about. Sure. That these people, if they're still watching, are stuck listening to.
I swear I'm trying not to be boring.
And I try to think about it so much as like, podcasts are not late night talk shows where there's 5 talking points provided by executive producers that Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon
pre-screened
need to hit that the answer for the most part that you need to give. I try to think of Joe Rogan sometimes when he has his friends on and it's like, yo, this guy was on like a month ago. Why are they on again? And it's just, they probably just said, hey, Joe, I'm in town. Can I come on? And Joe's like, fuck it, let's go. And they have an interesting conversation for the most part, or we click off, And so that's kind of what I hoped with you, and I've found it interesting so far.
appreciate
So
that.
here we go. We're not closing it out. It's
No, we're not
over.
done yet. No, we're not done yet. We get to the fun stuff now.
So yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, as I said in the beginning, was you've got the training company in the state of Florida. For the most part, the thought process behind it has gone a little bit by the wayside because it's not mandatory.
Nope.
Although I highly recommend it, and I think you will agree, highly recommend it to anybody. Just a firearms knowledge and basic proficiency.
Absolutely.
And I don't even want to say basic, but a proficiency course so that you know what you're doing. Your cleaning,
basic,
your handling, your use, your safety.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of accidents. I mean, I've had accidents with my firearms at home, and
with my dad,
stuff can be
the
bad.
cops.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And cops probably the most culprits because we are egos, or we become arrogant, or just think, oh, I handle a gun, I wear a gun every day in public,
every day.
And this is some of the stuff that I try to remind everybody when they try to demean our new guys for other things like, oh, we can't trust them because they might get into a car chase. And I consistently go, you give them a gun and the right to take someone's life.
Yeah.
You don't trust them to not get in a car chase. I mean, give them some more credit or don't give them the job. Anyways. So,
or be like FHP. Do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Do it. So firearms proficiency. Yeah. Talk to me about some of this stuff.
I'll give you my eye-opening point was I honestly thought prior to working at a gun store, so I worked at two, local, you know which ones. They're not going to get credit because they need to start sponsoring.
Yeah.
But the two rather large ones in the area, and prior to that, my gun knowledge was my father, right? And maybe a handful of buddies we went to school with and whatever, but nothing beyond I'm getting cop knowledge, right? But you assume, like everybody else, that, and I guarantee, and it is still the way. And to your point, cops are seen as you must be a gun authority because, right? This is a tool that you use, right? Like I would go over to an accountant person and say, "Show me Excel. I know you use or a spreadsheet program, right? And you will probably, my wife is like a guru, right? Or comparative to what I can do. I'm useless. I'm like literally hard at inputting.
In that, I'll interrupt you. Those guys use it every day.
Right.
What we both know, cops don't.
But the assumption from the rest of the community is you must be like pinpoint John Wick. You guys are doing this every other week, like super training. And then
that's the same thing I talk to when I talk to the guys that are running the law enforcement shooting competition that was 2 weeks ago, was that they, cops also get nervous going to shooting competitions because their ego feels like everybody's going to look at them when they can't hit the mark. And you've got some big bellied old dude that's like,
absolutely,
because they're trained in that style. Anyway,
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And it's like the only people who are really firing their weapons in a consistent manner on duty, right, are SWAT.
Yeah.
Or SRT in general, right? Yeah. But in your majority SRTs, right? Like Davey has an active SRT unit. Those guys are still doing general police work overwhelmingly more.
Yeah, they're a part-time unit.
They're a part-time unit for the most part, right? They train a lot. Davey has a really good team. I know the guys there. But BSO has a consistent team. That is what they do, right? Fort Lauderdale, for the most part, I think, is a just SWAT department.
Well, yeah, the only departments that have full-time units that are daily, like they are SWAT guy daily, is like Dade, Miami, and a portion of BSO. A part of BSO has a full-time.
I just happen to know one of them. So for me, it's like, that's my connection. I know Fort Lauderdale's the same way, right? A chunk of them do it, but not all of them.
Yeah, they're not really. And most of the guys that are like a full-time are like Chris kind of thing,
right?
But
Chris,
it's because they're on the training unit as well.
Exactly. Yeah. But those are the guys who are shooting all the time, right?
Yeah.
But every other cop, once a year.
Once a year.
And I knew my dad was doing it once a year, right? But he would come home bragging, "Oh, hey, you're old man, 10 out of 10.
40 out of 40.
40, I got all my shit."
The ribbon.
Never saw his targets, right? So, okay. I thought I knew how to hold the gun because I was trained by a guy who learned in 1980 off of a heavy metal, big ass shit Beretta. Revolver and a Beretta, right? They're just as big, but it was, drop the arm, the whole teacup weaver,
weaver stance.
Yeah. And I thought that was the way to shoot. And then I just had my eye opened, right? Two ways. First, people are fucking stupid. Like you go to the gun store, and I'm a huge 2A advocate. Holy shit. Are you like, okay, now I'm getting it. I'm kind
And
of
you're
seeing
talking about the customers.
the customers.
Yeah, yeah.
Total morons. And you're just like, you're shocked. You're going, wow, this is really just not a known thing. And you quickly realize most people's knowledge, unfortunately, comes from one thing: Hollywood.
Yeah.
TV movies all day. All day.
Gun near the face.
Absolutely.
So that the camera can be punched in, and we've got a gun
It's
and
cool.
a face.
It's cool looking.
Ain't
right?
nobody in real life holding the gun right
No,
here.
and then a lot of the teacup too works out well because you have a camera here, so it's a nice frame of reference, and you can see the gun. That's a fucking cool gun. Lord knows 90% of why they're choosing those certain guns. They look cool, right? The armorer thought it was a neat looking gun to put it in the movie, or the TV show, right? They run fingers on triggers, like everything that you're seeing is going, oh my god! And when you see that, and I really, with my own clients, I tell them that up front, like, look, you only know this. I know for a fact, because that's my first question. What's your knowledge of guns? What is your experience with weapons? Oh, I see it in the movies. Yeah.
John Wick.
Yeah. This is going south already.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So tell me what's right and wrong. Show me how you hold a gun. First thing, trigger, fingers going right to the trigger. And it's a natural movement, right? You've got Windex triggers, hammer guns, right? Normal drills. They have a trigger. It's a good, easy move for your hand to do. So their first thing, because they see it in movies, and like, oh, it's not loaded. I don't give a shit, right? Like you show me, first thing you did, you handed me your weapon. The first thing I did was unload it, clear it, make sure it's all good, right? And I'm keeping it away. My fingers off the trigger. I will hand a dummy gun, knowing it's a dummy, and that's the first thing they're doing. So that was my first eye opener, right? And then I was shooting poorly with a Glock because I just didn't know what needed to happen. How does the gun actually work? For me, it was fucking point and shoot, right? And it was when I started hanging out with guys like Chris, right? Where I met him at John Dufresne's class. John Dufresne is the man. And he was like laying it out. Like, this is a polymer gun. It's light on the bottom. It's heavy on top. There's things called physics. This is how physics works. And that eye-opening, okay, grip this way. Oh no, holy shit, now I'm seeing it. And then I started shooting that way. And it was, number one, anything that I thought I knew, I'm a moron. I don't know anything. And I'm a terrible shooter.
I only just realized, obviously, I knew the Glock barrel moved in the shooting the shooting movement, but I only just now realized that makes a difference.
Huge
in your shot placement. Yeah, and it's a completely different shot placement when you've got like a fixed barrel or a barrel that's not moving like a Glock does. Yeah, so,
it a lot of that comes down to grip, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, that was the thing that John really hammered down was grip first, right? Like if you don't have that, everything else is done. Yeah. Then how are you ripping on the trigger, right? People just rip on the gun because, again, it's in the movies. And for them, and it's so funny because you really see it bad in the 80s and early 90s. I think Lethal Weapon 2 was on a couple months back, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, Gibson is just spraying, and there's no possible way he could have actually been that accurate, even with an MP5, which is like shooting a pellet gun 90% of the time. It's just a huge gun shooting a very small caliber round.
I remember as a kid up in Pennsylvania shooting across the lake at a barrel, and my uncle, who had just come back from the first Gulf War, he had a like a Beretta 92 or something, like an old Beretta, and I remember like it was the first handgun I'd ever shot, and I did movies. I went boom, and I let it fly back. And if your arms are literally thinking, I need to move back,
you're already moving.
Plus, with the actual concussion and the movement of the gun, your arms are. And I gave it right back to him. Yeah, I also thought the gun was just going to keep going off because it was a semi-auto, and I heard auto when I was a kid, and I'm just thinking, oh, this gun's just going to keep going off. The grip safety on the back of it. If I keep that depressed, it's
gonna 1911,
it's just gonna keep going off.
Right.
Like I was,
No, I get it, and that's actually goes back to what the customers like. How stupid are these people? Yeah. They are dumb. Right. Yeah. That word semi-automatic, there's a purpose to it in the media. I used to work at the media. I worked at ABC News for a little bit as an intern, and you see they are specifically picking words because they know the general public, of which you and I are not, right, are morons. And so they hear, holy shit, that's a semi-automatic weapon. Yeah, do you understand what that actually means? That means you just pull the trigger once. It's never going to happen again until you do the trigger thing again. And it was that explanation, and hanging out with John, going to Chris's class, and then furthering from there, right? And seeing that there's several different kinds of trainers. I would never call myself a high-end trainer ever. I really limit myself to, you are brand new to the world, and I just know a little bit more than you, right? So I can at least help you get to a point And I make that clear. I'm only getting you to this. I am not this guy, right? I don't know how to train room clearing. Have I done it? Yes. Have I learned some things? Yeah. Would I tell you I'm good at it? Fuck no.
Yeah, yeah.
Hell no. Right? Right now, one of my biggest things I'm really focusing in on is precision shooting, right? If I went to a PRS competition, I would get my ass handed to me by a 15-year-old girl all day, right? And John says that, right? So Chris, he was telling Chris and I in the class a story, and it was, here's John, Army Ranger, right? Like this dude was a dude. Went to Afghanistan, smoked a bunch of bad guys, right? Cool beans, awesome stories, like really tough stories too. And he thought, all right, I'm this guy, right? He goes to a competition, and some little old lady, chain smoking, needing help getting to the stage, right? Just kicks his ass. And that's when and when you do it, you're like, this is not nearly. And a lot of my clients say that. I just had an older woman in her 80s, almost not, early 80s, I think, mid 80s. And she came to me with a Glock 42, right?
380.
Just no way she's racking that gun. And she struggled with it constantly. Fired it for the first time. Wasn't a fan of guns in the first place, but was worried. And she was like, it took her time. And she was like, this is not what I thought it was. Yeah, no shit. Right? Like, I'm glad you're listening. And she took the time. And we have gotten her to a point where she was out shooting a lot of the people next to me. You go to the range, most people are shooting hard left, and you can see it right off the bat. I'll tell people, send me your target. I generally know what's happening, right? Because I've seen it now. I'm doing it on purpose to see what's happening here, right? I'm watching, and maybe this is a skill set that I happen to be very good at, right? I'm not going to blow smoke up my own ass, but I'll watch, very similar to when I coach baseball. My best section or best points of coaching was on a swing, because I can pick those little pieces out, right? Oh, hey, you dipped just right before, right? You entered into the swing. Your hips moved, you shimmied, whatever. And I'm seeing it in the guns, right? Like, oh, you shot that one low. How'd you know? I saw it right off the bat. Like, I saw where you moved. And it could be very hard to see if you're not looking at it, looking for it, understanding what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good to have an observer.
Exactly.
With you.
Yeah. And so that's as far as I go, though, right? If you're going to ask me a lot about rifle, I'll show you how to shoot the thing. I'm not a pro. I'm going to go take a class with John about rifle. If Chris doesn't know, Chris is like kind of really into this new, really cool product stuff that he's up to. But those are the guys like Joe Dawson, Bruiser Industries, one of the great, high end, top of the line Navy SEAL sniper guys. That dude's awesome. Follow him on Instagram. The guy just gives knowledge, right? He's really cool. And I could talk to him one-on-one on DMs because the guy just wants to teach. Those are the guys that cops who are looking to be better shooters are going to on their own dime, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a program. I know Fort Lauderdale has something where you can, hey, I'm going to go do this class. Davey does it too. We're going to go do this class, and they reimburse you. Or they help you out with ammo. Like, oh, if you're going to do your own training, here's the ammo. You don't have to worry about that, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely smart, and I've heard some agencies, some agencies even I've heard give a box of ammo a month, whether they have their own range and they're affording you time to go, or if you're just going to go to one of your local ranges, they're at least like, hey, I'm going to give you a box of ammo a month. You just got to come and pick it up.
Run the gun, yeah.
And just run your gun. We don't have time to train you here, but just at least continue to be. And I mean, I remember back when I first started and I went to like Big Al's down in Hallandale or Mir, whatever you want to call it, Pembroke Park.
It's like running that line of weirdness.
And I brought my duty belt and they were like, oh, you can't do that. But they thought I was like private security.
Sure.
But I was like, I'm law enforcement. Can I still do draw? And they were like, oh, yeah. And they just took a copy of my PD ID and they allowed me to draw on the range. Fingers crossed that I wasn't, that I don't have an accidental discharge, but that was early in the game where I was practicing my draw. I mean, hell, later on I just do it at work, practice draw.
So
but it's good to do that, and it's good.
100%. Yeah. There's a lot to, and you'll hear this from John, Chris, Joe, everybody that I follow, right? And it's that cadre of like they kind of help each other out, and they're more about the craft. Yeah. Which is where my focus is, right? Because I think that's where you get to learn a lot. There's awesome influencer dudes out there. That Ronan dude's really cool. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the way he's teaching or explaining things I'm not a fan of. Doesn't mean he's bad. It's just these dudes that I talk to a lot and ask a ton of questions to. Why? Yeah. They're the ones providing me the answers, and it's like, this is the craft, right? It's really cool. Yeah. And so the thing that you can do that a lot of people don't do and can with anyone, civilian, cops, whatever, dry fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's okay to rip the trigger. That old school thinking,
Yeah. That
right?
you're going to mess up the
You're
gun.
going to screw up the gun is a really old, and that's I think the biggest problem in gun knowledge across the board. It gets carried, right? And so bad myths get locked in early, right? 9mm versus 40. Holy shit! I still have people coming in with 40. I'm like, why are you throwing me this garbage caliber?
Yeah.
Get rid of you.
I'm taking my old work gun that
Right.
they give us the opportunity to take it, and I'm switching out the barrel
Barrels.
from Glock store to put a 9mm barrel into it.
I mean, it's like, and how long has that taken, right? Like the 40 was never, and I'm sure there's people watching.
They Glock got rid of it. They're not bringing back the
No.
Glock 22.
No.
That's what some of the guys at work were talking about it because we carry Glock 22
Right,
at work, and they're like, yeah,
when they killed the line,
when they killed this for the
Yeah.
for the V, they're just not bringing back the 40 cal, and it's
just
like, wow,
it's not there, right? And it's not nearly as popular. It became popular because of a piss poor set of rounds in a bad shootout in '83 down at Dadeland Mall, and it was that Crown Liquors fire, shootout, and the rounds were dinking off the windshield and kind of coming off. Yeah, and the FBI agents weren't hitting where they needed to. I think Miami-Dade was involved in that one too, or Metro at the time was involved in the shootout as well. These guys were running, the bad guys, right? Were running with shotguns and just getting away with what they were trying to hit. And so I was like, oh my God, 9 is just not there, right? It's not, even though the round has been around since like the 30s or 20s even. Yeah. But then these manufacturers were like, we can fix it. We just needed to know, we had a real world example now, right? They made it better. Yeah. But at the time, the thought was, well, these 45s are so big, but they're super slow. What if we could get the speed of a 9, but the size of a 45?
Stopping power.
The great stopping power, which has 0 actual metrics to it, right? And FBI even said that. And then FBI releases a report going, hey, look, we extensively tested this. There's nothing. There's no added advantage. But these people hear it and they lock it in. And a lot of that, too, comes from cops, right? Cops will tell you, I mean, I can't tell you how many people came into the store, either store that I was at, and I was there in COVID, I was at one of the more popular stores here. Oh my God, we were working nonstop, right? That was 12-hour days, brutal.
Well, you had COVID, plus you had all the protests.
And you had protests,
because I know I definitely went
100%
armament crazy during COVID.
100%.
Like I bought my first plate carrier. I built the AR pistol. I bought the SIG at the time. So I was like,
we were loaded up.
I was loading up. I was like, oh man, the world is over.
We were in the store freaking out. We were leaving because we had to cut people off. And they were furious because this was early, right? Like right up until it was starting to maybe calm down a smidge. And then the protest started. So now everyone's scared shitless coming in. Oh, they're going to come for my toilet paper. We're going to get overrun. This is fucking Mad Max, right?
Yep.
So, but they came in. Hey, I want a Glock. That's fine. Great choice. Why? Well, my cousin's a cop. He says to get it. Hold on a minute. Yeah. The first thing I'll tell anybody, what's comfortable, right? Here's a series of guns.
Tommy Lee Jones said it in U.S. Marshals.
Right.
Get yourself a Glock.
Oh yeah, get yourself a Glock. Absolutely. At 40 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Glock 7. This is the secret pistol that could get through security if you're Die Hard 2. Right?
Oh,
that was
really?
Bruce Willis's comment.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Oh, those guys are Glock 7s. You know what that is? A porcelain weapon. If it's porcelain, it's not going to fucking work.
Yeah.
Right?
It's porcelain.
Holy shit. So, but they don't hear it. They hear what they hear. And then, and you know cops get to the point. It's like, well, I know this gun. I know it really well. It works. Our department chose it. It must be the right gun.
Must be
the right gun, right? And so what I would normally say is, okay, does this feel good in your hand? Maybe your hand doesn't work. Everyone's hands are different. There are other great guns out there. Smith & Wesson, M&Ps are awesome guns. I don't like them. They don't fit well in my hand. It's just me. It doesn't mean the gun sucks, right? I've shot it and I think it's a good gun, but I'm just not as comfortable as a 320. I love a 320. Mm-hmm. Holy shit. Granted, it could, pop off and knock a nut off or two.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sorry, Sig. But I really like the gun. Like that gun, man, is that a comfortable gun.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. And Glock, I'm there now, right? I've been using it and I got used to using it. And that's the other thing. Like people are like, oh, I have this gun for my nightstand gun. But then, dude, one gun, please. Make it one gun, right? Learn off of one, then work your way through. Yeah. But you got to get one down because it's the familiarity of it to understand where the trigger is. Like just so many little things. And as you learn that in the craft, so I call it the craft, right?
Yeah.
Once you start getting those points in, you're like, holy shit, okay, I'm getting this now. Now I understand how these people are seeing it. And so, again, back to those cops. Oh, my cousin's a cop, says get a Glock. Uh-huh. For who? Oh, it's for my mom. Okay, can your mom rack a gun? No. Yeah. Then why are we doing this? Who is going to happen? Are you going to be around all the time? What if this horde that you think is coming for you smokes your ass first? What's mom going to do? She's going to drop 15 rounds, and then what? She ain't going to rack the gun anymore, right? No, oh, no, no, right? And so it was always a two-part process with me. What are we looking for here? What is the purpose of why we're getting this gun? Oh, I'm going to get it for self-defense. Okay, well, we have a couple different options. Are you going to carry it? No. Let's go to full size, right? More control, more round count. You get better options here. Okay, cool. Okay, can you rack this gun? No. Okay, well, maybe we need to go to this particular brand because this one brand, Smith & Wesson, has an option.
A more friendly,
a very
spring.
super friendly spring. It's a whole setup that the way the gun is
better
worked.
grip.
It's easy,
or
right?
better slide.
Yeah,
grip.
they have the Easy, and I think they call it now the Equalizer.
Oh.
Yeah, the Easy's been around for a long time as the Easy Shield. Man, that thing's like perfectly made for old people, right? Or women who just don't have, unfortunately, or men, that kind of ability. Now, there's an easy way around that, but you have to be trained. What does everyone do? They try to rip back, right? And I was like, well, it's like a can of worms, man, like, or a can of soup.
Yeah.
Like crack here, and you'll have more pressure, and So most of the time, I could get them there. But it was a consistent. My cousin said this, my uncle said that, my dad's a cop. But listen, I get it, right? But that doesn't mean it's because it's the only gun that they know, right? And that's no shot that you don't. That this isn't across the board, but there's a ton, and you know this. There's a lot of guys who will holster that gun on day one, and it never comes out.
Never comes out. Yeah, and so I think what you're also saying is that you're just giving some of these people for their first time ever a familiarization with it, and then an understanding that that what they see on TV, what they see on the movies isn't necessarily correct.
Right.
What they hear from everybody else, that you have the credentials that are available to get somebody. To make somebody a trainer, at least on the basic levels of familiarization and comfort and product knowledge. And then you've got product knowledge due to working in the industry, and seeing
and testing,
seeing the original people and having to, being able to put your hands on all types of guns. Because I know when I was in college, I did an NRA course, and that's what the guy did. It was one of the girls in my criminal justice fraternity. Her dad was a trainer, and so he brought in a whole bag. So it's like, hey guys, first gun you're going to shoot's the revolver. Then here's this. Then here's this, and he let us handle 5 different types of guns, 5, different calibers. And hey, this is just a familiarization, but learn it, get to know it, and figure out what you truly like, and what you need to know about it. So
I did that actually with the
smart.
Sun Sentinel. I did about two years ago, I think 2, maybe 3. Sun Sentinel joined up with me and my old journalism advisor, because I worked at school paper at FAU, and I said, I did everything. He was able to get a bunch of journalists, Palm Beach Post, Sun Sentinel. I think a Herald guy came out, and then somebody from Port St. Lucie, and then maybe a Fort Myers one. So I had all these reporters who were either crime beat reporters or did gun stories, and were like, okay, my argument to them was, you don't know shit. I'm going to show you. Now get the familiarity. So when you write about this, you are getting taken seriously because you were writing about it correctly. 9 times out of 10, and you know this, you'll read an article, and I'm sure a lot of people watching are like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And the whole article goes to hell because of maybe something really dumb that should have never been said.
Whether it's an educated reader like yourself that looks at it and says, I'm discounting the entire article now, or it's an ignorant person reading it now thinking that a Glock is an automatic weapon.
Absolutely.
Switch or not, that a Glock is an automatic weapon. So
stock Glock, let's put it that way.
Yeah, stock Glock is an automatic. Yeah. So, and so then now that reporter was thought to be a trusted source. So now this ignorant person is learning something from them, and thinking that they're telling factual information. So no, it's just great. And that happens a lot, even with law enforcement, when we bring them out and we put them through
like
shoot or don't.
PIO.
Used to be shoot or don't shoot scenarios. Shoot or don't shoot scenarios. Give them the opportunity to look somewhat through the lens of an officer. And so these reporters then sometimes have different outlooks. They may not always back us up in the story, but they've got a little bit different perspective when they go through it a little bit, what an officer deals with. So that's awesome that you got the opportunity to train
reporters. And I did the same thing you were talking about, right? I brought them revolvers, and we started at 22 and worked our way up. I'm like, you're going to understand how calibers increase and what this feels like. Put them on an AR. I specifically picked a bunch of guns. I picked an AR that had been more commonly used in school shootings in general, right, or mass shootings. I was like, look, this is as close as you're getting,
Like
right?
a Colt
It
16
was a
and a
Colt.
half.
It was a Colt 16 and a half. It was an LE 6920 from 2013, right? So still when they were really doing good QC before they kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
So that's high quality. I'm like, look, I even put the handguard back on, the old school, like the plasticky one,
Yeah.
that looks just like an old M4.
Vietnam, yeah.
They're like, yeah, but not as, the shorter one. And I'm like, look, here we go. And one of the reporters was the Parkland guy, the guy who went and stood in the rooms while the bodies are still there, because he's a reporter and he gets access, and to some extent, like BSO is bringing him in and do this, and he starts like kind of like, holy shit, like this is too much. I'm out. I gotta go. I'm like, well, I get it, but he appreciated it. Wasn't upset. The others were like, this is like easy to shoot. Yeah, it's not this friggin' cannon that you guys are trying to make it out to be.
Yeah.
And it's just like when you get people there to see it, and there's a lot of hesitation. People don't want it. And then they think shotguns are going to do this. And I got them on the shotgun, and some of them didn't grip it, even though I told them 3 times, please put this into your shoulder. You're not going to enjoy what's going to happen. And one took one to the chin.
There's
you just don't know.
Until you shoot a shotgun,
you don't know.
There's no way you can understand exactly where you need to put there's almost minimal explanation that anyone can give you on how to shoot a shotgun.
I try.
Until you bruise your shoulder.
I try. I'm like, please, no, let's move it. Get your cheek in there. Literally get as much contact as you can, and then go for the ride, right? So
so it's an important thing,
especially with everyone buying guns.
We'll take a quick I want to take a quick break in a second and then come back and do like a quick 10-15 minutes if we can on some of these open carry laws. But yeah, I mean, it's important. So I'll put the links down below for your training company. You still do that Instagram stuff?
Do the Instagram. I really haven't posted in a long time.
But there's ways to reach out.
There's ways to reach me for sure.
So I'll put that stuff down
Instagram
in the description.
would probably be the best way.
Smart thing to do if you yourself as a viewer doesn't want to be responsible for somebody training them or teaching them or showing them some things, or you just say, hey, I don't know enough. I'm confident and comfortable, but enough to pass on the knowledge.
Please.
Let me send them to Steve.
Yeah, I get that all the time, actually.
Or you go make it a date, make a little little romantic thing, and Steve will set up a table with wine. No, I'm just kidding. But
I wish. Yeah, I need that.
You probably shouldn't be drinking wine and going to the shooting range.
Oh, some of these clients will get you there.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll be right back.
Cool.
So that's why I built InkMD, to address a niche, a very real need for medical grade wound care. For real wounds. Tattoos are real wounds. I don't understand why we continue to treat them differently. Nobody's bridged that gap yet. We're talking about relatively superficial trauma to the skin. The quicker it heals, the better. Especially with tattoos, because the amount of ink that's retained in your skin is dependent on that healing process. Real science, real medicine, with a very ancient and very personal art form.
Jump over inkmd.com and use DSP15 when you want to make a purchase. All right, we're back, and I want to at least pick his brain or have him kind of give me a thought process from a trainer type person and NRA type guy. So state of Florida, like we'll just look at it as a phase towards the end of the pandemic. Coming out of the pandemic, went with constitutional carry to allow anyone that's not a felon without a CCW or concealed weapons permit to carry concealed. It's no longer illegal to carry a concealed firearm if you're over 21. And if you are not a felon.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
That's it. If you're over 21, you're not a felon, and there's no other, you don't have a history of mental illness, whatever, you can own a firearm. Yeah. Right? Because there's that a little caveat. Then you were allowed to conceal carry in the state at that time. I think it was about 3 years ago now.
Yeah. I was going to say like 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah, it was, no. It was, when was because it was right around the time that the Israeli Gaza war, because I know that's when I had all the clients.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So it was 23, 24, 23.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, July 2023.
Yeah, so I remember it. So, it was... And then, the standard anti-2A was, holy shit, it's the Wild West in the state of Florida. Granted, we had since 2004, standing ground, right? And murder rate was supposed to go up. never went up.
Right.
Right? Never went up.
Yeah.
And then this has happened. We were expecting another bloody
shootings everywhere.
Shootings were going to go up and they've only dropped.
And I'll tell you, like, I know in your world you might see a lot of social media, but my world, I was doing community events.
Right.
I was doing community meetings with, in my city, well, Broward, a largely Democrat voting lens type folks. And so they were like, your job
Yep.
is going to become so hard. And I had to first educate on what it meant. The fact that background checks weren't going by the wayside,
Right.
that criminals weren't getting background checked,
Right.
X, Y, and all those basic facts that many of us know. But then also remind them that as a police officer, in my opinion, there's always at least one gun there,
right.
which is mine.
Right.
And sadly, we'll see that. We can see that just a week ago, Dade County. There's one gun there and an officer died.
Right.
So, I had to tell all these people that were so concerned for me and my job, that I'm pretending in this room that I'm talking to, every one of you has a gun. And I have to be conscious that if you have a gun, I have to be tactically sound. I have to have my eyes open. I have to understand, listen to things, look at tells, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's no different than than June of 2023, than July of 2023.
Yeah.
So,
and there's, I think, a fundamental misunderstanding. And I noticed this with a lot of the clients that I was still dealing with. Because I was still getting clients, even though it was now the law. People were still coming in because it hadn't filtered through, I would probably say. Because I saw a very big drop off about a year and a half later, where I barely have done a CCW course, I think once or twice in the last year.
Which is sad because, as I've already expressed in here, I think it's important for everybody. If you're going in and you're buying a Glock 42 from a local gun shop because, as like a wife or something like that, that says, oh, I'm going to carry it in a purse, or I bought on Amazon a special, sling bag that has a holster in it, I think you should.
Absolutely. If anything, to just the focus of the course. I mean, first of all, the state never cared what you taught.
Yeah.
It was simply, does a certified instructor give you this course? You could have used a hunting class and still utilize that to get your CCW. So that was one of the
and
things.
then there's some NRA dudes that probably rubber stamped their friends,
bro.
Boom.
There's a gun store, not far from here.
Yeah.
Also happen to supply people we were spoken about earlier who may or may not be in the profession.
Rubber stamper.
Yeah, rubber stamping.
So, but it's smart to do that. So state of Florida 2023 goes with that, which I don't know the stat. The next phase of this conversation, I'll talk about that stat, but I don't know the stat of how many states have constitutional carry
28?
as far as concealed.
20 or 29 now.
Yeah.
29. Yeah, because I just kept the number in my head because I pointed it out to people, right? Because that was the question I always got was, isn't this dangerous? 28 other states do it.
Yeah.
We're 29.
Yeah. That are not New
right.
York.
That's not New
Illinois,
York, Detroit. And it
California.
happens in a certain segment in urban-ish environments generally because there's a lot more people there and there's a resource problem, right? For the most part. It's just generally how crime works, right? Most people don't just wake up. I mean, there's that segment of society, but they're a much smaller one. Crime is opportunity and access, and I can do this, and way you're raised. I'm not excusing criminals at all, but it comes down to resources, right? When you're in an urban environment, resources are less available or less actually or available in terms of what you can and can't access or get to versus in a rural community. You have to go distances. It's a lot harder to commit a crime in a rural community without everyone else knowing, right? Or at least generally finding
the amount of people you walk by on a daily basis is a lot
it's just
less.
a little bit easier to get the opportunity to do so in an urban environment versus a rural environment. But
so just this year, 2025, Florida, the law was struck down.
Was deemed invalid.
Which
creates a weird legal issue.
Yeah, which the state legislature, I'm sure, or I would assume, will take up in legislative session.
Yeah.
But as of right now, to use the phrase "Wild Wild West," it's not totally legislated, if we will.
Yeah.
Right now, they basically have said that this law that says open carry, you can't display a firearm, we're going to put lines through much of it.
Right.
And so they did that, but this was the stat I wanted to bring up. 47 other states allow it.
Yep.
California, New York, Illinois.
Yeah.
And DC don't allow open carry. So Florida as far as Florida man's concerned,
Right.
was the last free state
Yeah.
to allow open carry.
Yep.
So Florida's really the last kid on the bus having to sit in the front row.
Yeah, it was when did I look it up? 84. I think is when 84 is when that law got into place.
Okay.
That you could no longer open carry. It wasn't always a non-thing, right? It was allowed up to a point. That came down, then the CCWs came down right in behind, or concealed weapons.
The permitting.
Yeah, that kind of concept, something along those lines.
Interesting.
So, so of course, first reaction I got from most of our friends, right, was, holy shit, I'm going to see everybody. I haven't seen one, right?
Yeah.
And it was in my argument to that to people who were generally asking, but also their gun knowledge is limited, right? And so the assumption with guns, unfortunately, is you're either Mad Max, John Wick, one end of this, or the little old lady, right, old guy with the revolver. There's never an in between, and that's where the majority of us actually live. So the way I argue it to people is, okay, it's gonna be okay, right? Like you're gonna still go to Publix, and I more than likely would put every dollar I own, it's not a lot, but enough. You're not going to see it more than maybe once or twice.
Even though Publix was all over the news
because they said we allow for it, right? Because there was no way for them to act in a legislative manner because there's no rules to this yet, right? It's not like concealed weapons, where concealed weapons specifically stay in the law. Private property can say no to this, right? You should think it still applies.
Well, but private property can't still say no to an open carry.
That's weird the way Publix sees that.
But that's a corporate vision for them to say
they never allowed concealed. They have a sign on their door that specifically says there will be no concealed weapons permits or concealed weapons in Publix. I used to tell people you can go in with it. It's not like you're gonna get arrested, but they'll toss you out.
Interesting.
If they found it.
I know, like raw sushi or whatever. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Simon's Mall, big sign as soon as you walk in.
I just say, I'm not going to carry the Beretta in because that's what it's a picture of.
I say the same
like,
thing. That's a Beretta. I ain't got a Beretta.
I told my wife, I have a Glock. It's
old
fine.
school, man. These people are living in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the biggest problem right now is that nobody really... The thought process is it should revert to the same rules as concealed carry. Can't go to the post office. Can't go here. You still can't go to the post office. That's a federal law. Good luck. You do not want to be investigated by the postal police because it's embarrassing if you have to go downtown and explain that to the other inmates that you're hanging out and holding cell with. Like, who's got you? BSO. I got postal police. Right? That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But outside of that, in the assumption, of course, you will get smoked if you try to walk into a government facility with one open carry, or at least kick the shit out of. Really, there's the way legislatively to read it, and that's the problem that you're saying, man, the state legislature has to take this up. There's no real definition now. Yeah. It just is. This isn't allowed to be illegal. So now it's like, well, what is the term?
And so to speak to you about Broward, the Broward Chiefs, an association of chiefs, obviously it's in the name, has declared that they will allow open carry in the lobbies of their police departments.
It's weird,
because
man.
it is a public place.
Right.
So it's like so also FYI, you're saying that they can carry it into City Hall. Do you think these silly little commissioners are going to feel comfortable with a guy with an AR strapped across his back?
Right.
So we have received a training that says you will approach this person, engage them, let them know that you observe it, explain that you understand it's within their rights, but if they at all manipulate that firearm in a reckless manner, they will be in violation.
Right.
They are not currently trespassing or being asked to leave and all this. And it's like,
and you're going to have those idiot auditors.
You are creating such a room for us to stand in to become just social media pariahs or through the auditors or case law creators.
Right.
And that's what I said in briefing. I just kind of like fake threw my papers up and I go, oh, let's go create case law, guys. Come on. Because that's how it happens.
Because CCW is safe so plainly in the law under 6 something or other.
Yeah.
There is no concealing in a police department, deputy sheriff's office, whatever. Yeah. Right. So there is, the assumption was it should revert. The realization very quickly was it won't. Yeah. And so that's why legislature. But again, the bigger point here is, for the most part, you're not going to see it, right?
Yeah.
For 2 reasons. Number one, it's not our culture. right? In Texas, it's the culture,
Right.
right? Like it's a known thing because generations have done it and they were never told no. Same thing in other, southern states, even Midwestern states, and up in the north, right? It's a cultural thing. It's not a cultural thing down here. That's number one. Number two, we're Floridians, right? The assumption when I was doing CCWs was everybody's got a gun, right?
Yeah.
So when CCWs became unnecessary for the permitting purposes, right? And you could just conceal anyway. Everyone's just like, well, I already assumed everyone had a gun. That's a great assumption, right? Keep it cool. Don't piss somebody off and get into it because of this stupidity, and you should be fine regardless, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of this is a cultural expectation, and then the problem of just this weird stigma that comes from Hollywood and the one or two weird stories, because that's what everyone does, right? Oh, this cop beat the hell out of somebody, so all cops are bad.
Mm-hmm.
No, right? Well, the cops don't say anything. No, we're going to keep quiet about that, right? Like it's a fraternity for a reason, and it's not because they're just trying to also do bad things, right? One of the things I love to tell people is that's a very stressful job. You don't know what they deal with. And if you go on a ride along once, you will want them to just smoke every turd who walks up to them, because it's like, how do you put up with this? You would never put up with an ounce of what a normal officer has to deal with on a daily basis. And it's like, oh, it's their job, or they picked this. Nobody picked to go home dead, right? Yeah. The same idea goes to you as well. As a civilian, you didn't pick that choice. What I'm doing is just giving myself an additional tool, right? If I want to walk around and show everyone, which is, I think, personally tactically dumb, right? If God forbid there was a shooter, also rare chance that it'll ever happen. I know there's some guys out there who are like fucking ready to go and want to have it happen, but it's not going to happen, most likely. Yeah, exactly. Knock on wood. But if I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, I have to take him out first. That dude's a potential threat to me, right? Like, a guy walks up with something, or hey, all right, pop, I'll attack that guy first. Now let's see. Versus, we're amongst you're not supposed to know from a self-defense perspective, right? The idea is simply, I'm adding a tool to help me survive a very bad and traumatic event that I should have done everything, or did do everything I can to not have been in that situation, but it's happening. Right, I cannot control a guy who wants to go rob me, but I'm at least in preparation because I've trained. Because
and just kind of to that, like thinking of you become a target, or you become somebody that's you become a target acquisition. I think of the same thing when I see people running around with like plate carriers as weighted vests that are military style or law enforcement style plate carriers, which it's just to add weight better to your chest so it doesn't bounce around. But you look at that, and I think that person might know what they're doing. That person might, like, if I was going to be doing ill things, that might be the first person I address.
Absolutely.
To, make sure that I can carry out my mission if I'm so psycho that I think I have a mission to hurt people. So yeah, why make yourself stand out? Just like I'm sitting here recognizing plate carriers as they jog by the windows of this room, like that person's a target.
Yeah.
If
I think we are finally getting away. And you and I both had grunt style shirts or whatever. There is, and I've seen it a couple other times. I did some really neat research on this, was the way our cultures react to wartime situations, right? In the return of the soldiers, right? And I argue deeply that the rise in AR-15 popularity in shooters isn't just because George Bush and the Republican Congress in 2004 cleared out the concealed weapons ban, right? Because there's still
the automatic weapons ban, or the
assault weapons ban, right? From 2004 to 2007, right? There's really not a massive increase of sales. They're slowly growing, but not this. This massive explosion, and that one, of course, then leads to a larger increase of school shootings. What you see is that 2004 going into closer to 2007. Think about what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an 2003 to 2007 really time frame. That's the first rotation coming back from Iraq, out, right? Your 4 years are up. I'm done here. Yeah. And there's a familiarity to that rifle. Like I had to carry this damn thing for 4 years in the desert or in the mountains of Afghanistan.
So how are you equating that to
There's a similar thing we saw in Vietnam, that a lot of those guys brought their shit home. Yeah. And it was just because that's the gun that they're familiar with. And there is still that, maybe call it a little bit of PTSD from a chunk of them, not a large, I'm not going to broad brush everybody, but just this, we know that gun, right? And so the other end of that is we all saw that gun,
Okay, so
me.
society in
Society
turn
saw
is
the gun
seeing-
on TV
Yeah.
every single day. And it was, why can't I have that? And when you tell society you can't have without any other explanation, first thing that they want.
I mean, just like John Wick, everybody's running out and buying staccatos.
Exactly.
You know, yeah.
And so, and Kimbers before that, bad Kimbers,
Yeah.
not good Kimbers, good Kimbers today. And so what you see is this, and then you have iPhones, and then the social media explosion, and you have a lot of guys that didn't go, right? You and I did not go,
No.
right? Our friends either did go or didn't go, right?
Yeah.
We are of that generation,
Right.
but you had this copycat mentality because they were given the lionized heroic return that we did not give in Vietnam. And so those guys were like, holy shit. So what do you have everyone else who's now jealous or self-conscious about, oh, am I as much of a man as this guy who just went to war and did all
Yeah.
these things? And I'm not, but I can look like him. I can dress like him. I can shoot like them.
Yeah.
I can shoot better than them, right? And so you have that proliferation of thought process in society, and I've got tons of data that I'm not going to bug you with, but it shows there's a correlation, right? Social media explosion, iPhone explosion, school shootings kind of jump at the same point. That's when you start to see an increase in ARs, and then you just to find out this is really easy to use, right? And
Yeah.
the same guys who are carrying those guns are coming home like, that's super fucking cool, man. And you can do a lot of really neat shit with this. And these are going to work better than the ones we were using over there, right? And there is a study that I've seen it. I see it. World War II did it. They brought their Garands home. They brought M1 carbines, right? M40, Tommy guns.
Yeah.
The whole line, right? Springfield 1903s, which I have, those are awesome. But they brought them home. They kept them. But Grandpa's Garand, I killed a Nazi, right? But it's not because he did that. It's because he was comfortable, right? That's the first gun he can go to blindfolded,
Right.
and know how to use,
manipulate it,
right off
fire
the bat.
it, clear
There's
clear
nothing
malfunction.
different, and I know that gun saved my life. Therefore, right. So a lot of guys in Vietnam, same thing. Once the M16 was fixed, and it was really that ubiquitous gun. As you were saying, right, the super long one, the 20-incher. Everybody knows it. You see it, and you're like, holy shit, right? Guys in Gulf War too, they kind of knew, but now you're working your way into the assault weapons ban. And so there was that little group of, oh, you can't have this now. Why not? Everyone else got to for 50, 60, 100 years, whatever. And then into 03, these dudes came back, and it's like, I want my gun back, right? I need that familiarity because I can still defend myself, and I know this gun, right? Which didn't happen in the 90s and late 80s even, right? Like not much in the 80s. Gulf War doesn't count. It was 6-7 months and we're out, right? So you have all of that, and you have these people seeing it now, social media and everything. They were coming in, what do I need? I need an AR. I need an AR. I'm not disagreeing with you, right? And I will argue shotguns don't always solve the problem, right? People get scared of this gun, and it's...
Yeah, but what are you going to use it for?
Right,
You know,
but
kind
what
of
is it
thing.
for? And then, oh, I'm going to use it for self-defense. It's still not a bad gun for self-defense. An AR is a softer shooting weapon. But there are consequences to this gun. You have to understand how to manipulate the gun still. It's loud as shit, so I really hope you put ear pro on because you're going to blow your eardrums out shooting in your house. It's cool, right? But shotguns are not as easy to manipulate as we were talking about earlier. Doesn't mean they're bad. I love a shotgun. I'm a big fan of shotguns, and they're starting to get their popularity. And I think that I want to close on that. If you're watching Gun Tube, right?
Yeah, GunTube.
GunTube, right? I think is the best way to put it. But there's also Gungram, right? There's a shit ton of influencers who are paid by the gun companies. So you will see a gun 6 months ago. This is the shit. This is the coolest freaking thing in the world. 6 months go by, their competitor produces something. They send them out to the gun tubers. This is so much better than that gun. Oh my God, you don't even know, right? You've got to be more concerning than that. And then it's not try to pick up with it. Oh, I need this. I need that. You don't need all these things. You need some things, right? In terms of, does the gun work? Yeah. Okay. I need a good working gun. I need ammo. I need a few magazines. Everything else from that point forward, right, is let's learn what these things do. I think everyone should get a die, but that takes time to understand and learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm doing it now.
Yeah, it's hard. So learn how to use the dot. Don't just stick a dot on and think it's a laser pointer, which everyone thinks that it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then there's, okay, well, I need an AR. Do you? Maybe. Sure. Okay, go get one. If you want it, go get one. Never say no to that. Right? I want these things just to have. Cool beans, go for it. Do I need a Garand? No. Did I want a Garand? You fucking better believe it.
Yeah.
Right? Coolest shit that I own. I love shooting that gun. I didn't need it, but there's a separation. I don't need it because, holy crap, they're going to hit. And it's the first gun I'm going to grab. It's the last gun I'm probably going to grab. Right? But I don't need an AR. I don't need an AK. I get these things, especially as a trainer, because people come to me. I have this gun. Well, sorry, too late. You already bought it. There's no return, right? So now I have to know how these things work for the most part so that I can explain it to the client, right? I guess, did somebody just hit me up yesterday? I forgot to call them back. I have all these guns now. Oh, shit. All right, well, I wish you would have told me, right? Because there's really bad gun companies out there that make shit guns.
Yeah.
No, but it was cheap. Dude, cheap is not always the answer, right? Don't buy a cheap gun. Get a mid-range priced gun. You're going to have to spend some money. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's okay, right? Because a gun should last.
For sure.
You know? So,
all right, we should wrap it up.
I
We got to
gotta-
wrap
I
it up.
gotta-
Yeah,
yeah.
I know you get soapbox.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're just running up against some time. I got another episode that I got to go do at home. But yeah, so
Hey, man,
thank
thanks
you,
for having me. Appreciate
Steve and Triana.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm going to throw a bunch of information in the comments or in the description for all this. I'm sure there's plenty of opportunity for you to come back because there's definitely way more that we could talk about. Sometime we'll talk about history.
Oh, don't get me.
Yeah, no, I know it's probably its own dedicated.
That's at least 2 hours
It's
right
its
there.
own dedicated podcast.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool, man. Anything else you want to
man,
add?
appreciate
Where
you
are they
having me.
going to
Thank
find
you.
you since they are listening to?
At Triana Training Concepts on Instagram.
Okay, perfect.
It's the only way to get to me, I think, is the best way anyway. So.
Otherwise, it's just my phone. Your phone number.
It's just my phone
your
number. We're not
personal-
giving that out right now.
Yeah.
Enough spam people have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.